let's move now to our preview of the big semifinal going on this week in France. The Europe semifinal, 10 men, 10 women, 8 teams going to the CrossFit Games. But before we do that, we want to thank our other sponsor for today, and that is Thirdsy, the PM Recovery Collagen drink that will help you improve your sleep. Lauren has her travel packs right there. Now, listen, I had a little crisis the other night.
Ready for France.
It was a really serious issue that I had. I walked out into the kitchen at night, and my wife was scooping my Thirdsy.
Did she take the last scoop?
Now, I'm not saying I have looked into a divorce attorney. I'm not saying I haven't either. But she was all
first the house, now divorce.
She was all up into my Thirdsy. And I was like, what are you doing?
That sounds dirty.
Oh,
Yeah.
all up in my Thirdsy.
Yeah.
She was scooping it right in front of me. I was like, are you kidding me right now? It's my Thirdsy. But I was because this stuff has changed my life. It is why, like, I am a regular now at the 5 a.m. class at NC Fit. A regular.
That's
If you had told me just a year ago that I would be getting up at 4 to go work out, I'd be like, you are crazy. And please don't talk to me anymore. It would take an act of Congress to get me out of bed at that time. Now, because I take my Thirdsy before I go to bed, I can hit the sack at like 9:30. I get good quality sleep. I get up. My training score is good to go. I get a good workout in. I feel good throughout the day. Thirdsy is a collagen-based drink powder that helps with joint connective tissue repair. Other ingredients like magnesium, L-theanine, and GABA are included to help you calm your central nervous system and support deep REM sleep. It tastes fantastic. It's the last thing I have before I go to bed. Nice little drink. You can check them out now. Thirdsy.com. Use our code TEF. You're going to save 20%, or you can even just scan the QR code on your screen. This stuff is it's a game changer. Big fan of Thirdsy. Thank you for helping me sleep. Thank you for helping me get better sleep. And, getting me into a little domestic dispute every now and then. Because I'm very, very protective of my Thirdsy. Just keep your hands off. Get your own Thirdsy.
I mean, I would assume you guys have had this conversation around, where the battle lines are drawn with supplements in the Woodland household. But
I'm just like, you're cut off.
Come on.
Sean Suppies.
Yeah, exactly. That's my Thirdsy. All right. Okay. Thirdsy.com. Check them out. Scan the QR code on your screen. Awesome product. You guys will definitely improve your sleep game. And I have a terrible sleep game. And Thirdsy has absolutely made a difference. They got those travel packs too, which are really nice.
Great for a red eye. For a red eye.
First thing I grabbed when I knew I was coming to Mom's house for a couple of days. Like,
save me when I had a 48-hour trip to London. That was
that'll do it. Europe semifinal going on. Kicking us off in France. Everyone's talking about picks and all that stuff, and that's all well and fun. But we're going to talk about our top storylines that we're going to be watching. No particular order. We're going to throw these out there. I will start with the obvious one, I think. And that, for me, is, can Yona Koski continue his run to a possible podium finish? Yona, so far this season, has been more or less lights out. And when you look at the men's field, he has a really good chance of obviously qualifying. Like that, pen that guy into the top 10. But good chance to win it all.
Yeah, I mean, you look at historically, particularly in the last 3 to 4 years, some of the established veteran athletes or athletes who have multiple years competing under their belt that have been able to climb the podium for the first time. Medeiros, Roman, Adler, for varying degrees. Roman, his access was limited, but usually when they did that, what preceded it was them winning their qualifying stage, right? So I think Yona winning the Open Worldwide, winning quarterfinals is a big deal, but then showing into a deep semifinal or a deep Europe field here, that I think where there's legitimately 20 to 25 athletes that could potentially qualify, and winning, knowing that last year he had his tied to career best finish without his best strength, which is swimming, showing up could signify that this is maybe a different year for him overall in terms of being healthy, starting to stack wins, starting to stack top performances. And I don't see why not. It's crazy to think that, he's going if it weren't for injuries, he could be looking at year 12 or 13 at the games.
Yeah.
But
I think another guy too that's crazy is like, yeah, and we'll talk about this in a second, but BKG, like that's another guy that just keeps humming along,
I
and
think
don't
they'll
be
both
shocked
be
if
on
he
the
won
podium. Yeah, I think they'll both be on the podium at
for the
semis.
semifinal. Yeah, for the semis,
yeah,
absolutely.
For
well,
semis.
yeah, and I mean Europe in general is an intriguing,
Mhm.
just overall what is going to shift the landscape eventually, right? Because BKG, Yona, and even Lazar in the last few years have been kind of the mainstays in terms of not just performing well at semifinals. You look at between 2014 and 2017, BKG and Yona won all of those semifinals, and then or the regionals, and then Roman won 1 year and regionals went away. You came back in 2021, and then Yona and BKG won both of the semifinals that year. So
Mm.
they've been doing this for a decade plus. Lazar being the more kind of, I don't want to say king of Europe because Yona beat him last year, but it's when is this like young batch of Europeans just going to completely storm the castle and
Yeah.
overthrow everything?
Lauren, you got a storyline you're watching? What do you got?
I do, but it's gonna fall into a different category we're gonna talk about, I think.
Okay.
Oh, okay. I mean, I have another one that we
All right,
talked
what
about.
category is that? Let's get into that category right now then.
I'm looking at Victor Hoffer.
Okay, so top rookies. This is all right. What rookies?
I think he's not just gonna have a home run, but I think he's gonna grand slam the semifinals.
Really?
I just have so much confidence in him and the training that he's been putting in with HWPO and the crew that he has around him. He moves so well, which sets you up more for success. He's so young, his strong gymnastics background. It's really just the weightlifting that he's really had to put his numbers up. But to me, he is somebody who I think can win the semifinal and I would be more shocked to see him not go to the games this year
Really?
than I would be if he stood on top of the podium at semis.
You talked to his coach, right? Did you
Me?
Yeah.
I have before, yeah, Steve.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
what was and you talked to Steve about him. He pretty much glows about Victor, right?
I think anybody who's close to Victor glows about Victor.
I mean,
Because
I'll,
he's
I'll be, I
yeah,
did a
go
I
ahead,
did
Tommy.
I did a warm up air squat next to him at Wadapalooza, and I glowed about him just because, like you said, like he moves as good as there are people that move well, and there are people that move well with intention move well with intention and purpose, and he's both of those. And it's hard to describe when you see it in person. Like it's almost like you're watching the Da Vinci like anatomy of man. Like, oh,
Yeah.
that's how
Yeah.
it's supposed to look.
Right.
Like
That's a
Instruction movie.
great example.
yeah, especially with the gymnastics and body weight stuff. But I'm with you on. I think the question is not whether will he qualify, but can he win the whole,
Yeah.
win the entire semifinal? Because you look at like what he does well. Obviously, like quality of movement is super high, but I would argue that he's easily the best gymnast out there. Like when it comes to the pure gymnastic skills,
Mhm.
like how good he is. And if you think, all right, movement quality and efficiency of movement and gymnastic skills being a priority, like what are the events that he can't knock out? I mean, the first one's pretty simple. The first event, it's just running and clean and jerks. But then you start to move around like, oh, the double unders, 20 toes to bar, high volume of 100 toes to bar in the front squats. That's like, to me, that's a home run form,
Mhm.
right? Like efficient movement through the double unders, toes to bar proficiency, like the front squat not being tremendously heavy for these individual athletes. You start going down the line. All right, day two could be a huge move for him because you have all these legless rope climbs mixed in with echo bike and box jump overs, and it's like, all right, well, what do the legless rope climbs look like? Is there any twists that we're not being told about the legless rope climbs, or is there something new? But either way, that's something he's going to smack.
Yeah.
You move on to event 4, and you have rowing and handstand walking, and it's just those two things. And I almost feel like for the rowing, the variance isn't going to be that huge amongst these top athletes, but there can be a
Yeah.
big difference when you're Victor Hoffer running on your hands and not coming down ever versus
Do you
anyone
think
else.
he could win that event
Oh, for sure.
across all division or all regions?
That's a good question.
Tudor Magna might have something to say about that.
Yeah, I was gonna say Tudor is really good, and Tudor's just a bigger, heavier athlete, so he
Yeah.
might have a little bit better
On the
go at
row.
the row, but it could be close. You never know. Um, I think obviously event 4 is going to be the big question for him with the heavy squats, or event 5 with the heavy squat snatches.
Mhm.
But the last bar is 265. He posted a video on his Instagram not too long ago doing 3 reps at 265, looking pretty comfortable. So assuming the squat volume and the lifting volume doesn't crush him, he should be able to finish. And I think finishing is going to be at minimum what you're going to have to do to advance.
Yeah.
Unlike in 2016. And then you have a sprint with a big chunk of 15 muscle ups that he's going to do unbroken on the last workout. Like there are cornerstones of every test that I feel like he's going to be able to give himself a serious advantage over the competition. So.
Who's his equivalent on the women's side? So while we're talking about rookies to watch,
Ooh.
I mean, I got Lucy McGonigal. Really interested to see if this will be the year that she makes her individual debut.
Ooh.
Been a fixture in each competition, but
yeah, on the women's side, in Europe specifically.
Yeah.
Let's see. No, actually, let me pull it. I don't know if there's someone that quite fits that exact same build for me.
But just a rookie that you're watching.
Ooh. I mean, the athletes that I'm watching are a little bit different. Like, because I think that Lauren's pick was is that. I think on the women's side for me, someone I'm watching is Amy Kringle.
Yeah.
I look at where she's at, coming in 11th out of quarterfinals. She's someone that I saw compete in person at Strength and Depth in 2022 when she won the 333 event, and it was like, okay, very clearly there's an elite aerobic base here for you to win that event. And now we got to work on the lifting, we got to work on some of the skills and start to round into shape the other events. And while she finished 19th last year at semifinals, that looked like a step back. If you kind of factor in that 2 semifinal events went into one, and she was 12th at her semifinal the year before, it's still kind of a 1 to 2 placement improvement depending on how you net out.
Mm-hmm.
And she's starting to get a little bit of hype. She's hit the competition scene. She's gone to Dubai. She's gone to Wadapalooza. She's gone to Madrid. She was featured on the cover of Women's Fitness UK and a big magazine cover that got blasted out to the entire community. It could be a big week for her to finally break through and be one of those athletes in Europe that starts to step up in the absence of some of the traditional big names. And she's young. She's got clearly a good base, and that's who I'm watching on the women's side for sure.
All right. Next storyline, Tommy. Let's go with you. What do you
got? Those are my 2 big ones. I mentioned the big overhaul. Just a couple of things that back it up. On the men's side, we've averaged roughly 5 newcomers in terms of turnover and churn for qualifiers from the year prior. And it feels like this year there could be a lot more, and not just men, but women too. Some of the mainstays leaving, and obviously I think we'll still have some of the big guys like Yona and BKG and some of the heavy hitters like Gabby and Laura on the women's side. But I wouldn't be surprised to see just a whole host of newcomers that people have basically no clue about coming in.
Yeah. Another one I had here, and this is just, I thought it was going to be fun to watch. Can Bronislaw Olenkowicz double dip? Right now, he is in a qualifying spot for the Masters, as that leaderboard is closed. It's not finalized, but it's closed. And right now, Braun would be going to the Legend Championship.
Yeah,
he's 6th overall.
Can he also go to the games as an individual? Now, Will Morad also has a chance, I believe, to do that as well.
Yep.
So that's just going to be something fun for me to watch. I also put down just Laura Horvath, just because I want to see.
Smart name to put down.
Well, because look, I feel like last time we saw her, she won Rogue, defending champion, hasn't really been out in the spotlight like she usually isn't. Not being talked about. Tia's getting a lot of the attention, rightfully so, trying to win her 7th championship. She's never lost at the games, since finishing 2nd in 2016.
Yeah.
But I want to see what Laura looks like in this semifinal, because if she comes out and just wipes the floor with everybody, I can't wait till we get to Fort Worth. If
Yeah.
it's like, I don't know, then that kind of puts a different spin on what's going to happen in Texas. But
How many event wins do you think she's gonna have at semis? Both of
3,
you.
I mean, the title defense starts now. Like in broad picture, like this is where the title defense starts. I mean, I'm excited to see her and Gabby go head to head in that
yeah.
snatch ladder event. That's going to be
Oh.
fun.
hmm
Um, I'm looking that first event, 800-meter run, clean and jerks. Depends on where Laura's running is at because the bar will be nothing. Yeah, I don't know. I think the 7 rounds for time with the legless rope climb and echo bike could be a win for her.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be surprised if this is a dominant performance, but not flush with event wins.
Okay. Fair.
Where like she gets nipped or clipped by someone that beats her from an earlier heat or smacks it from outside lane, but she just racks up seconds and thirds and wins by a ton. And I
Yeah.
also think, I mean, you can't discount Gabby and the success that she's had this season and how well they performed having trained together and kind of building each other up as training partners too. So
All right. Next one I have is, and I'm going to take this, got to take this got to take something from wrestling. Will Luka Vunyak and Miriam Van Roer finish their stories? 2 athletes who really showed up on the radar in the open. That's all well and good. We've seen that happen in the past, and then people kind of tail off. Look good during quarterfinals. Now here they are in person in semis. Can they work their way into the top 10 and get to the games?
oh,
It's hard because the field in Europe is so competitive.
Yeah.
So it's like, whose spot are they taking away? Is the question
Yeah, I
in
don't
my
know.
mind.
And that's why I mean, they've done enough to, I think, have warranted to be at least in the conversation.
Absolutely.
I think we could see a bit of a seesaw weekend from Miriam.
Yeah.
I think she could come out strong. Obviously, like good runner.
Mhm.
The 800-meter run and like 10 clean and jerks feels like something straight out of High Rocks. It's just like
Yeah.
running, kind of mindless, like
Mhm.
weightlifting. And then you have this like middle of events 3 through 5 where you have like a ton of Legos rope climbs, handstand walking, and then like heavy barbell where you have to lift under pressure. And it's like, okay, is that the pressure cooker that elevates or squashes or game stream?
Mhm.
Um, and where does that leave you going into an event finale that is like right out of classic regionals programming, where
Right.
you have one big chunk of muscle ups, blow your heart rate up with the bike, and you can't afford to go slow. And then, you got to push the pace on some overhead walking lunges where we've seen amazing finishes. So
Yeah.
I think we could see her seesaw a little bit. And I, yeah, I don't know if either of them finishes the story or not. It seems like maybe it might not happen.
Okay.
I could be wrong, but
Yeah. But look, I just felt that because they've done well and so far in each of the 2 stages, they deserve to at least be talked about as contenders for a qualifying spot. Tommy, you had one about sort of the ongoing power shift and sort of overhaul of the competitive landscape that we have been seeing the past couple of years over in Europe.
yeah, yeah. I,
What's that? What's that storyline for you?
I talked about it a little bit earlier about like the newcomers and how it's a kind of a combination of things. I feel like there's with the way this format is with a much denser field
Mhm.
that's smaller. I think that opens the door for anywhere, 20 plus type people on the men's side that can qualify, and a whole host of newcomers that are coming in on the women's side that have a decent amount of experience and that are still young.
Yeah.
I think currently 5 in the top 11 from quarterfinals on men are newcomers or would be rookies. So it's you look at people like Yona and BK that have been at the top for over a decade. They're in their 30s, right? And then you have two women at the top in Gabby and Laura, that are very clearly, in my opinion, the
Mhm.
the toast of the region. And then behind them, you have, I mean, you go Manon, Emma, Elisa, Jacqueline, Karen, that have a couple of game spots, but haven't quite established themselves as like the elite of the elite.
Mhm.
And is this going to be a year where we see those women kind of elevate themselves and become the core grouping in this region to come, without Katrin, without Andy, without Sarah? Um, or do we see some new names like you mentioned, Lucy McGonigal? Um, I think there's another one. My dark horse pick on the women's side, I think, is another athlete that you should certainly keep uh, your eye on. And let me, where did she go? I just had her. In Bergos Bjorn's daughter,
Yes.
who's only 17,
Mhm.
competing out of
Yeah.
Europe, was third
I
at the
can't wait to
games
see
in the
what she
16 to
does.
17 division as a
She's a
16-year.
CrossFit Reykjavik too, right? Isn't
Yeah, her affiliate is listed as CrossFit Selfoss,
all right.
which, if anyone been to Iceland, beautiful waterfall, by the way,
Yes.
the Selfoss waterfall. Um, but just could be the next in line of just another daughter coming out of that little like training pod in Iceland that has spawned multiple individual games athletes on the women's side. So
Yeah.
I think it's an intriguing proposition for both Burgos and Lucy to potentially, like, hey, look, we're here too.
Yeah.
And to me, that would start to signal that shift happening maybe even sooner.
Well, I got one more for the teams and just one more for the individuals again. But if anybody else has one they want to jump in, I'll go with those.
Well,
All right.
I mean, I have my athletes who I'm watching in dark horses, and then yeah.
So team wise, I want to see who's going to emerge as possibly somebody like, oh, that because the Navy blue team has been dispersed. Who is going to emerge as sort of the big fish in the pond over there out of
Uh-huh.
the semifinal? That's one. And then the other is that when this is all said and done, and we have our 10 qualifiers, is who is that person sitting in 11th?
Ooh.
Because that's each division now, Europe losing spots. Who is that person, and how is that person's resume going to stack up to maybe people who get in other semifinals? I think that'll just be something interesting to watch as this goes on, because we could have a pretty worthy name getting left out here.
Yeah, yeah, the fact that Europe has less spots this year just seems like a complete failure of the ranking and allocation system. And it's it's nuts that obviously this was the case last year too, but the entire final heat, in theory, would be in a qualifying position going to that final event. And you're going to have people qualifying for the games that, depending on point spread, could be, you know, middle of the second to last heat. And with I
You're talking about middle of the second to last seed in other regions, other semifinals.
no, in Europe, if someone's 14th or 15th, they're in the middle of the second to last heat, right?
Yo,
And
sorry. Yes. Okay.
if the point spread are tight and they knock a home run out with how these like fast, quick regional finales are, we've seen, Cole Sager make up 30 plus points on
Yep.
an athlete in finish. We could see someone catapult 5, 6 spots up into a qualifying spot, and someone you weren't even competing with in your heat
Mm-hmm.
is the person that's stealing or taking the last spot. I shouldn't say
Well,
stealing.
last year I know in Pasadena and in Orlando they did this, where they had the last event, they had the third heat stay out on the floor to
Oh,
watch
yeah.
the fourth heat.
Yep. Yep.
So
Yeah,
that's always added drama.
yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Right.
I also think there's like the top tier teams in Europe are very, very good.
Yeah.
Like whether it's walleye or prestanda,
Mhm.
and then you have the C23 or Zerat. I think there are multiple top 10 caliber teams in
Yeah.
this region here, but with some slightly shifting pieces. So it will make something worthwhile watching, especially on the second day.
Yeah.
Mm.
Lauren, anything else that you're gonna be watching this weekend that we have not touched on?
My only other question is it going to be a blowout between Gabby and Laura, and then
Oh.
everybody else is just in a league that's different? Are they in a league of their own?
I mean, I think if you were gonna divide this up like we have before with our categories, I think the two of them would
Yeah.
be probably by themselves in that whatever you're gonna call that upper echelon. It's
Yeah.
possible. It's
Yeah.
definitely possible. But I think Tommy's right. I think there are some of these events where maybe someone jumps up and
Mhm.
steals a few points, and you don't necessarily see a lot of event wins, but there's like a second, third, fourth, first, second type thing. Uh,
Mhm.
and I can see the two of them sort of trading those back and forth. But that's it. That's a good question. It could definitely be like there. What I like about this expanded format, there's so many storylines to watch. You watch the battle for the top. You watch the battle for the podium. Then you watch spots 4 through 11 or 12 or however it shakes out going to the final day, who are all still alive. Uh,
Mhm.
but yeah, I'd be shocked if it weren't those two fighting for the top spot going into day 3.
Yeah.
All right.
Um, I was gonna say the other athlete, the one like we did athletes to watch and dark horse. I gave my female one, but this is a curious one.
All right.
Nika Mizeratzi
Uh huh.
out of Georgia. He's a 24-year-old kind of unknown out of Georgia who's only competed once before, one season prior, and was nowhere near qualifying for semifinals. I think he was like 800th
Okay.
in Europe quarterfinals. Uh, Not really a ton of info out there. Uh, it appears that he could have potentially competed at a high level in judo, unless there's another athlete with the exact same name that looks like a younger version of himself out of the same country.
Yeah.
Um,
What's his name? I'm
Ni-
looking for him on the leaderboard.
Nika Mizeratzi
Uh huh.
out of Georgia. I could be butchering the last name, but
Hmm.
he's top 10 in Europe.
All right.
Um, Let me
Oh, yeah,
find
there
it.
he is. He's 6th.
Yeah, he had the second fastest time in the world in quarterfinal workout number 2. That just awful box jump burpee
Ooh,
one.
gross.
Look at his
Oh,
profile picture.
it's him smoking a cigar.
I know. It's just like not what you would typically see on somebody's CrossFit bio
What do they call it? Like
profile pic.
I mean,
roots.
hey, the greatest
I
weightlifter
love
of all
it.
time, the greatest modern weightlifter of all time in terms of heavyweights, Lasha Talakadze is from Georgia, so maybe we're getting a cigar smoking
Yeah.
burpee ripping
Look at that.
Georgian, but yeah, not a lot of info, but having
Nope.
that second fastest time in that workout kind of is what clued me in. He's kind of like this like interesting character, and I want to see like if he's like fully legit. And then
Good looking
also on
photo.
the men's side, like my dark horse pick, Miko Liliorg out of
Lily, yeah.
Estonia. Um, eh, Mainly because of his finishes in quarterfinal 3 and 4. So he had one of the best like combined pairs of finishes in those two tests
Mhm.
out of the athletes that haven't qualified for the games already or are not currently in a qualifying position. So the combination of of strength and skill mixture in that to me points me a little bit better in the direction of, hey, could this be a dark horse qualifier? And then you also look at his countryman Kevin Jers, and it's like, hey, we could have an Estonian at the gym.
Have we ever had an Estonian at the games?
Not, I mean, outside of maybe 2019, where it
2019,
was like guaranteed,
throw
but
that out, yeah.
in terms of like actually qualifying,
Mhm.
no.
Okay,
So, which would be
cool.
cool.
All right.
So,
Well, a lot of good things to watch this weekend. Let us know what you're checking out, and maybe what your picks are, because everyone's gonna be making picks now, but I like to focus on stories because, it just makes it more fun to watch,
mhm.
all that storyline. Again, Friday, coverage available for the Europe Regional on the CrossFit Games podcast channel. Okay, make sure you look for that podcast channel. Saturday and Sunday available on the Games account on YouTube. All right, so you're gonna have to change that, switch that dial over to the CrossFit Games, and Chase Ingram will be on the call along with Lucy Campbell. It's gonna be a good crew. Great coverage. Looking forward to watching it. Looking forward to getting semifinals kicked off. PRs and no reps before we close things out here. Anybody got a PR and no rep they want to get out?
We do have some community support.
Community support. Let's get that done first. Community support,
Tommy. So we got a few actually. So this first one is in support of some of our friends, I believe, down in Brazil. So CrossFit Canoas, a longtime affiliate in the Rio Grande do Sul region of Brazil, is pretty much covered by water. Some flooding has just kind of decimated the gym. The CrossFit affiliate page has supported them by reposting what has happened, and then the process of trying to rebuild the affiliate after just basically being a complete wash from the flooding and how it's destroyed that. If you want to support them and help them in their process, I know the Brazilian CrossFit community is very strong down there. You can actually go to their Instagram. It's CrossFit, obviously CrossFit. Canoas is spelled Canoas. And in the link in their bio is the link to support them. It takes you to basically an equivalent of like GoFundMe fundraising site from Brazil called Vaquinha. So yeah, it's there if you want to help this.
we're just looking at some of the images now of how that is unbelievable.
Yeah, it's brutal.
Devastating.
So obviously that place is a second home for so many, I'm sure, and so to help support them in their rebuilding. This other one is on to highlight an upcoming competition at CrossFit North Peoria. The competition is a fundraiser for the St. Jude Foundation. If you're not aware, this amazing foundation helps to cure childhood cancer, and the St. Jude Children's Hospital is a hospital that provides all of the necessary medical care for children battling cancer at zero cost to their families, which is an amazing thing that they do in order to support these families. Their research and their efforts have helped raise, I believe, the chances of survival in like the past decade to 10 to 20 years from just 20% of childhood cancer to 80%, which is, I mean, magnificent in terms of like the progress that's been made. So if you want to check it out, let me find it.
Right up on your screen. Right
There
now.
you are. There is the
underscore CrossFit underscore North underscore Peoria. That's where you can go on Instagram.
Yep. So there is the QR code to support and to check it out as well. Certainly a very commendable and a just awesome thing to support. Yeah.
All right. Community support. If you guys want us to get the word out on anything, please send it to us on our personal Instagram accounts, our Talking Elite Fitness Instagram accounts, but please include as many details as you possibly can because we want to make sure that we are sending people to the right spot and we get the people in need the help that they so well deserve and need. So hit us up. Happy to get the word out. PR's no reps. Who's got one? Who's got a no rep? You got no rep, Lauren?
No, I actually don't this week.
Yeah, I don't think I really
reps.
thought a lot about it.
Yeah. I mean,
are we no rep free? I'm just gonna I'm gonna no rep Torrin Simpson for not liking the movie Airplane. Other than that, and that's
Never heard of it.
Oh my god. Okay. Yeah, that's a clear no rep. Surely you can't be serious, Lauren.
I am.
Yeah.
Serious.
Oh, I watched a great movie last night though on Netflix.
Lauren has seen a movie.
Uh-oh.
Stand by.
Oh, shoot. Wait, what was it called? Hold on. I
it
texted
sounds like it was
to my
awesome. You can't
sister.
remember the name.
Yeah, who cares about the name? I just know it was really good.
Okay.
Dark Waters.
Ooh. All right.
About the case against Teflon.
Yeah.
Oh, it was so good. It's a must watch.
Okay. A must watch, says Lauren Khalil. All right.
Must watch.
Oh.
Put that on the movie poster. All right. You got a PA? Anybody got a PR?
Yeah.
Shoot. What do you got?
Moms. PR and moms. It was Mother's Day in the United States.
100% got to PR moms.
Big shout out
Here
to
are the moms.
I saw this thing is, I think it was on Instagram, some post was hilarious. It was about, Mother's Day cards, or thank you so much for raising me and being there and all that, good stuff. And then Father's Day cards are like, happy Father's Day, fart breath. I just,
Nice.
we all know who's doing the work.
so true.
Yeah.
But hey, and yeah, just
All right. PR, let's
can't
PR
give
moms.
moms enough credit.
No, you cannot. Doing some fantastic work out there. All right, well, we'll leave it at that. Let's PR the fact that we finally have some live competition to talk about. 3 straight weeks, live competition, Europe and Asia, kicking it off this Friday. CrossFit Games podcast channel. You're going to get to see some action. Chase Ingram will be there with a whole cavalcade of characters. It's going to be fun to watch. And then Saturday and Sunday, full broadcast over on the CrossFit Games channel. All right. Let's all enjoy live competition. Let's have fun. Let's cheer on these athletes as they look to get to Fort Worth, Texas and compete in the CrossFit Games. It's going to be a blast. I'm going to be glued to my computer screen, checking it out. Just so thankful that we have live competition to talk about. So, all right, that's going to do
make sure you stay up to date with our content, because I will be in
We'll
France.
be on site in France.
So we're going to talk
interviews. We'll have highlights. If you don't have time to watch everything, just stay tuned to our Instagram channel. We'll have all kinds of updates throughout the weekend, so you'll know exactly what's going on, and you can follow along like a good fan would. Okay, this is now the appetizer for the main event. That's it. All right, guys. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks for listening. Have a great rest of your week. Have fun watching the competition this weekend. For Lauren Khalil, who will be on site in France, and Tommy Marquez, I'm Sean Woodman. Take care of each other. Be better. And we will talk to you guys next time.